Just a little bit of NBA news going on this week that we'll have to talk about here on the Drive and Dish NBA podcast.
I
We've
just
been busy, man.
yeah, I just go back to, our first like 3 seasons, and summertime is always busy. I don't want to downplay that. And the draft has obviously always been right after the end of the championship. Like there's a pretty small overlap. So that's not really a surprise, but that's the thing is those I think of those quieter times. Like there was always a free agency episode we would do, but it genuinely like there was almost like this 5-week period where not really much would happen. Like news would really just kind of trickle out here and there, but it'd be, a one topic type deal. Obviously,
Mhm.
that was extra true when we were in COVID, but I think that's a little extraordinary to say the least. But as we've been saying for years, not anymore. Like we are moving. I mean, that's what's crazy is like I don't want to keep like moving on already because I feel like it sounds like, and we are a little bit, but it's like it sounds like we're not Celtics haters. Like the Celtics just won a title 2 weeks ago, and we're now so engrossed already in next season because you have to be like with the moves that are going on already. How can you not be looking ahead to next season?
Yeah, it's time to it. You get 1 week to celebrate, and we've moved on. We're over the Celtics, and and we're ready to talk NBA, or we're ready to talk trades. We're ready to talk draft. That's obviously what this episode is going to be a lot of. We did want to warm up with the Knicks trade, which I wanted to point out a little fun fact before we do the like full breakdown of the trade because it's a lot. Um, the Knicks currently have the best preseason title odds that they've ever had this century, which is wild.
No, I mean this century, I believe it. With it
Yeah.
being, from 2000 and now, those mellow
Yeah.
teams were good, but you always had the heat there, right? So it was like you
Mhm.
didn't exactly ever think that they were going to knock that big three heat off. Listen, I get and honestly, it's weird, talking about moving on from the Celtics. It's kind of fitting because that was one of the first things I thought in this move. Is I said, "Hey, this is the Knicks. They're going for it, man. They want to take the Celtics
Well,
out."
you think about it, I mean, yeah, we don't know what the Sixers have a lot of question marks. Bucks were really up in the
Yeah,
air as well. So you got the Celtics and then if you're
they're
gonna
number
make
two.
no, well, if you're gonna make I might well, in the East, yes. I would
Yeah,
probably put Denver over them in the West,
me too.
but they're top 3 probably now, maybe top 4.
They've got a very realistic shot to win the Eastern Conference. And I think that's what you're going for here if you're the Knicks. Like they can go all in, and there's a scenario where they win a title. And obviously, this is something that franchise has been chasing for 50 plus years. And, they saw last year's success with this team. They saw what it could be when it was healthy. And look, man, give credit to them. They're going all in. Now, is a very steep price, which we'll get into here in a
But if
second.
you're
Like,
going all in, you're going all in, you
exactly.
know? Like, if you think Bridges is the guy that puts you over the top, I think it gives you a question mark with Randall now, but, if you think Bridges and Villanova players are the key, then you go all in.
Do you have the actual trade in front of you right now, just before we
Yes.
get too far into it?
Yep, so the Knicks gave 4 unprotected for first-round picks, the 2025, 2027, 2029, 2031, a top 4 protected first-round pick, which comes from the Bucks, that's 2025, so next year, an unprotected pick swap in 2028, 1 second-round pick for 2025, and then, Bogdanovic, also goes to the Nets.
Yeah. So that is a lot. Like, let's get clear right away.
To compare, if you're going to, because this is what a lot of people brought up immediately. Obviously, the Rudy Gobert thing. I saw the Ringer put that this is a delayed hold my beer to the Rudy Gobert trade. The Nets, when they traded Kevin Durant, who is objectively one of the greatest NBA players of all time,
Right.
the Phoenix gave back 4 unprotected first round picks plus a swap with Bridges, Cam, and Crowder. So take that for what it is. I think it was pointed out that Bridges didn't make an all NBA team. So that was kind of the talk between the Kevin Durant and Bridges comparison when you look at these two trades that are, I guess, a little similar in terms of how much was exchanged. But I just go back to if you're the Knicks and you fully think Bridges and the chemistry that these guys have is the next step, is that little thing that you needed last year that would have put you over the top, that would have had you in the finals, that would have won you it all, and can potentially replace Hartenstein, who is going to be probably a casualty of all this
Definitely.
today, because we haven't even talked about the OG deal, which is another one that came through. So you think Bridges and OG, a healthy OG, locked in, and Bridges together with everybody and the depth is the key? Then you got to do it.
Yeah, you are going to determine the Knicks are going to try to win a title on the power of vibes and friendship. And honestly, it might work. That's the
Yeah.
thing is it's like they won at Villanova. Like Nova's just down the street from me right now. We saw that. That's one of the better college teams ever. Like
Nova Knicks.
I have two schools of thought here. One is that I love it, and I love the Knicks pushing all in. Their starting lineup can contend with Boston's lineup. I don't know that it's better than it necessarily right now, but you got to feel good about it. I think Bridges is going to be the ultimate test of Tibbs, but I mean, he's been an NBA Iron Man. He doesn't miss games. Like you want to talk about, the most important thing is the most important ability is availability, is what I'm trying to say. And Bridges plays all the time, so that is great. It gives you a smothering presence on that wing, a guy who can hit the three. Like we've seen him take on a higher role in Brooklyn and succeed at times. Now he obviously doesn't have to be that. Like he's the number 2 option probably, but it takes a lot of pressure off Jalen Brunson too. It means that teams can't basically, like, you would see this strategy in the playoffs of teams blitzing Jalen Brunson, and now you can't exactly do that anymore with Bridges in the lineup.
And and to that, Bridges can be the number 1 guy at times.
Yeah.
It also showed with the Nets a little bit. There were some times where when he was the number 1 guy for too long, the efficiency, the PER and stuff kind of started to slip.
Yes.
So with the Knicks, that pressure is not there, which is great. And honestly, at times he doesn't even have to be the second scorer, on the team. So there is a lot of that, which I think will take a lot of that pressure off of him and help him, focus on the parts of the game that they need him to focus on in that scenario.
Well, you mentioned it too, but I think the combo of bringing, because instantly one of my questions when they made the trade is, okay, what happens to OG Anunoby now, who's going to cost a lot of money and is going to get a lot of interest in free agency if he somehow gets onto the market? Well, the Knicks answered that right away by bringing him back, and I think that's important. If they're going to go all in on this team, you need to spend the money, and so bringing OG back was a necessity. OG's worry, we know what it is. Like, it's just the injury at this point. He's objectively a good player and worth the money. Like, the money doesn't worry me at all. It's just he's got to stay healthy. I mean, he missed a large portion of time in that second round, and that's a big reason why they got bounced against the Pacers. I also go, hey, when they were on the floor, or when he was on the floor, they were incredibly efficient. So how can you not bring him back?
They were
talk about that defense. Like,
they were 20
there.
They were 26-6 in the 32 games that he played for the Knicks in the regular season and playoffs combined. That's a 5-year, $212.5 million deal. So I mean, my question now with the Knicks is what happens with Randall, and maybe they ship Randall or do something with Randall to get a little bit of something back for all the stuff that they shipped for Bridges. I don't know. Or you keep the depth, or you find a way to keep the depth. I just wonder if there's a little bit of a logjam at that point with Bridges and him, if they kind of conflict styles or how that would be handled. They obviously showed that they're really good without Randall in the playoffs. So maybe it is a thing where they end up moving on.
Well, that's why it's so weird, right? Because it's like Randall gives you a physicality element to your lineup that I think the Knicks would benefit from. And more importantly, the big men is where the one area where they're pretty sapped right now. Like you're moving on from Mitchell Robinson, and he's also dealt with some health issues. They did price out Hartenstein. Like, you're right. You hit that on the head. Like, it seemed like he was going to come back until this move got made. Like, they were going to spend the money to keep him. Now it doesn't exist. Like, they don't have that much money. So that's going to be a casualty, unfortunately, who we know how well he played for them last year during the playoff run. Randall can play 5, so you can, if you want to have some smaller lineups, play Randall at 5. So I don't think if you keep him, like, that does solve it a little bit. But you're right. You have to get more of a traditional big man, I think, in there. And that's going to be one of their early asks to fill out this roster. But yeah, you do have the question, because Randall's due a lot of money, and they did do pretty well when he was missing time with that shoulder injury at the end of the season. Like, he does have a pretty spotty playoff history. So that is, for me, for the rest of the season for the Knicks, you're right. That's the big question, is what happens with Julius Randle here. Do you decide to just move on? Who jumps in? What is he worth at this point? Like, you're right. Do you want to restock the war chest a little bit and, but kind of see what happens there? Like, that is the more, that's the most intriguing element by far to me for the rest of the offseason.
And I wonder if teams that might be interested in Randall would also be interested in Hartenstein at that point. Like, are they going to conflict each other a little bit in terms of the Knicks trying to get some value out of Randall? Right now, I think Mark Stein posted this a few days ago that the Magic and Thunder were front runners in potentially wanting to land Hartenstein. So, I don't know if they go after Randall too, but yeah, I mean, it'd be fun. I'm one of those guys where it's like, yes, Hartenstein did a great job. Is it going to be one of those, like, it was a flash in the pan kind of playoff thing? I don't think so, but, you always have that worry, especially when, the price has gone up for a player like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't, the NBA money is so weird now, and we can talk about this a little bit later. Well, it's actually, you know what? It's not going to come up in my Ballin and Fallin anymore. Like, Immanuel quickly just got, and I had this comparison, and not to, like, totally get on a random tangent here, but just would give me 2 seconds with this. Like, Justin Jefferson, who's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, and arguably one of the best players in the NFL, just signed the biggest wide receiver deal in NFL history, and it's the same amount that Immanuel quickly just signed with the Raptors coming back. And that's just, like, so wild to me every time I see it. And I think that's maybe warped my idea, because NBA contracts have rapidly risen so much here in the last few years that it's like, that sounds crazy to be giving like $76 million to Hartenstein, but it's not at all anymore. Like, the way the contracts have gone, and you're right, I don't think he's a flash in the pan. Like, he shined last year and broke out because he was in a bigger role. But I do think, and especially if he goes into OKC, like, you want to talk about one of those areas where it's like, he's not exactly going to need to be an offensive juggernaut there. He just needs to rebound, crash the glass, create extra possessions, which is what he's good at. Like, Orlando needs that too. I think they could benefit from another big man, and that would be a good signing for them as well. But no, I mean, I think he's gone. Do I think some of these teams will overlap with Randall? I don't know. Like, Hartenstein will be cheaper than Randall is. Like, Randall's pretty expensive right now. I also think Randall's going to ask for a lot bigger of a role wherever he goes than Hartenstein is. Like, I don't think Hartenstein thinks he's a top 2-3 option. We're like, I 100% believe Julius Randle believes he's a top 3 option in an offense, and he could be in some, for what it's worth. I just don't know if there's any overlap there.
Back to your sorry, before we get too far from it, back to your salary comment. How many players in the NBA do you think for next year, the 2024-2025 season, will make over $50 million without rounding up? There's some players that are real close.
Yeah. 50 mil a season. It'll probably be like, it's got to be close to like 15 now, right?
No, surprise. So 5 will make over 50. Curry is going to make 55. He's the number 1. Embiid's number 2. But Embiid and Jokic, not surprisingly or not surprisingly, make the exact same. And then Durant's like right below them. And then Bradley Beal at 50 mil. Booker, which is so funny because it's the Suns, 4, 5, and 6 in terms of salary next year. Durant's at 51, Bradley Beal's at 50, Booker's at 49.
Bradley Beal's agent should be in the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah, yeah, man.
That's my takeaway from that. What a contract.
And then Karl Anthony Towns, Kawhi, and Jaylen Brown all make the same amount next year at 49 mil. So
Tatum will be there too. Tatum's going to get a max like that.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, I don't know if this has been updated, to match like more recent agreements and stuff, but at least from that, That's
Yeah.
still surprising. I mean, if you want to talk about over 45 mil for a season, I mean, we're going down to 14, 15. We're close to 15 players.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis and Rudy Gobert are a little bit tied right out of that. Dame would be the first one above 45 mil on that list.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's only going to increase. That's the
I
thing, is
know.
like the numbers only going up. And again, I'm not hating on that
You
at
wanna
all.
well, let's just take our little. I know we'll talk about him later, but at number 23, making 40 mil, Ben Simmons.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, we'll talk about him later. Amazingly, somehow he will come up on this basketball
Makes more
podcast.
than Zion, makes more than Darius Garland. Oh, well, I don't know if OG's is updated. Brandon Ingram,
Yeah, I mean, look, he
SGA.
got the max extension. Like, I'm not really surprised by that. He got the max rookie
I know.
extension.
Tatum's down there.
Tatum, like I said, Tatum's going to sign a new max of this offseason, so I
I
don't
know,
think we'll be
I
too
know,
worried
I
about
know.
that for too long. But it is
Oh,
worth mentioning, going back to the Knicks here, because we talked, and I like this trade. I think the Knicks are all in. I respect them going after with Boston. I think they have way more questions answered than the Sixers do, like you said. I think they have way more questions answered than the Bucks do, like you said. Like, to me, I still got Boston at number 1 in the East. Like, they're running it back. I'm not exactly about to kick them out of the top spot, but I think the Knicks can push them. And I think the Knicks saw this team and said, hey, if we're fully healthy, we got a shot. And then you add somebody like Mikal Bridges, and they feel like that shot is there. They have a lot. Like, that is a lot of
yeah.
draft
Well,
picks to give up
and
for
I guess
Mikal Bridges.
the worry from a Knicks standpoint is obviously the Celtics. But if the Sixers and Bucks do something that gets them back in contention from a Knicks standpoint, are your bigs big enough to slow down the two stars that are on that team, which is probably a worry, right? Because again, they Embiid and the Knicks, like, we played, but there was a lot going on there, and there was injuries, and so what does that look like? And obviously, the Sixers are tied to what feels like every trade right now, for another star at this point. So what does that look like? And then from the Knicks standpoint, if that does put them over them on either on the Bucks or Sixers side, you don't have a lot of assets now
Yeah.
to try to right the ship, to correct course or whatever you have to do in that scenario. Now, that's a lot of ifs, but that would be the worry in my mind.
No, you burnt your war chest for the foreseeable future. Like, you were all in on this team. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I like this
They're
team a
young.
lot.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a high risk, high reward type move. Like,
Gotta do it.
it's, of course, it could backfire spectacularly. And on the other side, we haven't really talked about it. We're not going to dive too much into it, but I do love this trade for Brooklyn. Like, Brooklyn, you want to talk about with the Durant trade, with the Harden trade, and everything that they've spent in the last few years and had to get off of. Like, that team was going nowhere fast. And respect to them for sticking firm to their guns on Mikal Bridges. And, they said we want 4 or 5 first rounders because Bridges was getting floated last year when everybody knew the Nets weren't really going to be that
Yeah.
competitive. And they held firm. And I kind of wondered at the end of the season, it's like, look, I feel like Brooklyn needs to pick a direction here. They're kind of trying to play both sides right now. This is a firm, we're picking a direction. We're going to step back, rebuild a little bit. They just re-signed Nick Claxton to a 4-year, $100 million deal. Obviously, a homegrown guy there who's had some success, which I think is a good move. But yeah, I mean, they're going to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, it looks like, which is not a bad decision for them. And more importantly, you have all these picks. Like, regardless of where they are right now and how good the Knicks are, like, this is a franchise that basically had none. So to be able to restock that, like, I think that's a really good move in picking a direction for Brooklyn. Like, they didn't get burnt by waiting too long. For the Knicks, again, we're going to see. It's because, like you said, Mikal Bridges is not a top 10, top 15 player, I would say, honestly. But he's really, really good. And he might be what this team needs to push them over the top. So, like, sometimes you kind of overpay to get pushed over. We're going to see what happens. But either way, I mean, it's going to be a super fun and entertaining team to watch. Obviously, the vibes around them is going to be super high. Like, these guys have all remained friends. And now that they've all ended up on the same pro team is pretty crazy. Like, when they all got drafted, like, that's pretty their respective roads to get here with Josh Hart, with Dante DiVincenzo, who've been on multiple teams as well. So
yeah, I wonder what the most players from the same, like, college team on the same team in the pros
Yeah.
is what that
I mean,
number is.
it reminds me of like those UF teams were together. Like if somehow
Yeah.
Joakim Noah, Al Horford, Corey Brewer had all been able to play together as pros, and like they all played at the same time, but they never played together. Like it was already kind of wild when they got Josh Hart and DiVincenzo then on the same squad with Brunson, and now to bring Bridges in. Like I know there have been memes about the Nova Knicks for a long time, but like that really, even Jay Wright quote tweeted, I think a lot of Knicks fans were like, hey, yo, Jay Wright, you want to come out of retirement? Honestly, like we love
You
Tibbs,
want to
but
come
like
talk?
Jay is Jay. He's a legend for a reason, but I think
Sixers.
he put that to bed real quick. He was kind of like, nah, you know what? I'm enjoying retirement. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna let
watch
them
you
do.
guys go
I'm gonna
Knicks.
let them do their thing. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, man, it creates a real confusion for Sixers fans. I know my dad and everybody were like,
Yeah,
"We're
I
gonna hate
loved
the
it.
Knicks,"
I
but
love
the Nova
Nova.
part of this is like, damn.
Me personally, like, cause like I'm not into the Philly college hoops like that. Like, obviously, I
Yeah.
went to Hofstra. I root for Hofstra college hoops. But I had one of my best. I mean, Shervin's been on this podcast. Like, Shervin is one of my best friends who I grew up with. He went to Villanova, and so like
Oh
whenever
yeah.
Hofstra had kind of a unique schedule, so whenever I was home on my breaks, it would always be like a week later than most colleges. But so
Yep.
Nova would always be in session, and for me, Nova was 25 minutes down the road. So I have some of the best memories of my life in my 20s of Villanova. So I always kind of have a soft spot for them. So like when they were winning national titles, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, it's not really a Philly school or like one of them because it's in Radnor and not in actual Philadelphia city limits. Like I think
Which, by the way,
that's
is
lame.
where my family grew up. Like Radnor is where my parents went to school.
Look, Radnor's an affluent area. Like, look, it's a great area. Like, I get it. It's not. It doesn't help when Temple's also in North Philadelphia either. So it's like you want to talk about opposite ends of the spectrum right now.
Yeah, well, but also
but that's always lame too. Like I always thought that was lame when people were like, "Oh, Nova's not a Philly school." Like, out of here. Everybody says Nova's not a Philly school until Nova starts winning.
then Philly embraces them.
Yeah, it's like have a parade down Broad Street. Like,
yeah, come on. I know.
But it is a little conflicted when they're. I mean, they're playing for the Knicks. Like it's real easy. Like I like them as players. I'll always enjoy. Like, but they play for the Knicks. Like it's real easy as a fan to block that out.
Well, and I would say the Nova stuff, just to put a cap on it, that's just like Philly sports embedded, dude. My dad called me yesterday talking about how the Phillies were the worst team in baseball because they can't stay healthy. Like, you realize record-wise, we're the best. We got to 50 first. He goes, they can't stay healthy. It doesn't matter. They're a trash team. I'm like,
wait. Oh, yeah, I got to tell your dad to chill, bro. Like, it is... we're not going to do Phillies. We really don't got to get that far off course. But it's like, yeah, when three of your best players are all injured at the same time, they're probably not going to keep pace. But shout out to that boy Chris Sanchez last night. Complete game 3-hit shutout. My man has not let up a run since he signed his new contract extension. Like, you want to talk about delivering on expectations right away.
He said, you want payoff? Here's my payoff.
Yeah, this has been, again, we're not going to go down the road, but this has been objectively the most fun Philly regular season of my lifetime. Like, I've never seen them get off to a start like this. I've seen them win a World Series, so I'm not quite there yet, but either way, hopefully this is the best Drive and Dish NBA podcast you've ever listened to. Well, we'll see. Welcome everybody. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Cousart.
Oh, hold on, I got it. Y'all was tampering.
No, they were tampering big time. That was Hallie, wasn't it?
No, that was Bam. Bam tweeted that and then tagged Brunson and Josh Hart.
They were tampering. No, they 100% were tampering. And that's why whenever the NBA comes down on tampering, I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, these guys tamper all the time.
It's like, yeah, sorry that they're buddies and they probably have a group chat. And I bet you
they were on FaceTime within like an hour of the trade happening.
It's called, they're on a group chat, and the group chat had a name called Nova Knicks. I guarantee it.
I love that from Bam, though. That's funny.
Hart responded and said, let us celebrate in peace. Didn't deny it, just said, let us celebrate.
Well, you saw Hallie said something too, and then I apparently, like, I'm not into WWE like that, but apparently Hallie and Brunson were on WWE last night and were like facing off in a showdown against each other. And I'm like, wow, y'all really y'all took this playoff series, so y'all didn't want it to end, huh?
But also, like, I don't know, man. If I'm a Knicks fan, it's like, yo, get these guys out of the ring. Do not injure them. It's their off season. Let them heal.
I guess, but I just watched Lane Johnson jump into a
That's
booth
fair.
in Timberland or jump into the ring in WrestleMania in Timberland boots. So like
Yeah.
I can't really like I'd be a little bit of a hypocrite if I'm saying that. Like I don't know. Either way, entertaining times. I know whoever there's a lot of WWE fans out there. Obviously, like I'm not super into it, but there are quite a large amount. So but it seems like they all enjoyed it. So it's always pretty fun. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. If you enjoy this podcast, we will read it. If you are not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And we're on YouTube, video versions of the podcast. If you'd like to catch them there, just search Drive and Dish NBA podcast and subscribe. You'll get notifications when new episodes are coming out.
And now a word from our sponsors.
So the NBA draft happened, and congratulations to the only player that was picked throughout the whole thing at number 55, Bronny James. That's the biggest steal of the draft, the biggest news of the draft. I hate this so much. I kind of, you know what bothered me the most was the reports that were coming out saying that Rich Paul was calling teams before the Lakers saying, if you draft him, he's going to Australia. Like, no, don't take it. If I'm one of those teams beforehand, I am 100% taking him and saying, hey, you guys want him? Give me a late first rounder and you can have him. Like, that takes all the power out of it. And that's what pissed me off.
I guess, but I'm also just like, if I'm an NBA GM and I hear that where I'm like, oh, no, I'm not going to draft Bronny. Like, I think it's extremely cool that LeBron and Bronny are going to be on the same team. Like, first father-son duo in NBA history. I think that if they throw an oop to each other on the fast break, it is going to be actually awesome. Like, there are pictures of LeBron with Bronny holding him in like 07 when he's winning the Eastern Conference. And like, that's just crazy to see him grow up, reach the NBA level, and for them to be able to play together is really cool. Bronny also went number 55 overall, and probably if he doesn't have the name LeBron James Jr., may not even get drafted in this draft. So that's just why I'm cracking up too. Like, when I saw that, I was like, it's like, Rich, who are you threatening right now? Like, most of these guys aren't going to take Bronny. Like,
but why? I guarantee it's because they were like, oh, we can pick him right before the Lakers do, and then we'll at least get a pick or like get a second round pick for next year. Like just kind of move the assets or get an extra asset out of it. It's when it's one of those things. You know what the team's going to do, so you kind of call their bluff and pick that person and say, hey, you want them? Price just went up a little bit. I mean, that's what I would have done if I'm any of the teams picking before, like the 50th pick, or the 54th pick, like 100% doing that.
But is it a headache? Like, why would you bother? I guess. Like, why would you give yourself if Bronny, you don't even project to be that good? Why do you want to hold somebody hostage? The Lakers can just say, okay, play him in the G League then.
Yeah, well, and I agree, but if you're picking 54 and you're not really feeling great about anybody, why not pick Bronny and then go, hey, give us a second rounder for next year? You just push the assets down a year and then you get a little something out of it. I don't know. And obviously a lot of people would be dumping. It just felt, I guess the reason that it bothered me the most is it just felt like the league was like, yes, we're going to allow this to happen. And I know that's not the way it happened, but like,
it is. It is.
It felt like they're like, yes, we're gonna let LeBron James have his moment. It's gonna be
nepotism. How do you feel about nepotism is the question. Like, that's a little bit of that comes down to. And I've seen a lot of different perspectives on it, and I get it because I've heard some people say like, oh no, LeBron has nepotism when it's like every front office in the league has nepotism.
There's a thread. You really want to go down a rabbit hole. There's a thread on Twitter I was actually reading before this that talks about all the like fathers that came before people, even in broadcast and all that stuff. So either way, but you can go down that road. I mean, it isn't the first time LeBron James slept with a teammate's wife, but
did you see Savannah's response?
Teammate's mom, right? What did she say?
No, she just reposted a meme and she was laughing at it. She just like put the like emoji up with the hand over her eyes. But she, in one of those words, like, I'm not denying it either. She's laughing. Like, that's hilarious.
Funny. That's so funny.
Savannah's hilarious, bro. She's got jokes.
Oh yeah, dude. That'll be. I mean, I am like like we said,
that's why I'm not hating, I guess. It's like I
yeah,
like the James family so much that I'm like, this is kind of
do it.
cool. Like you get to see the generations playing together. Like it's definitely more of a narrative. My buddy Joe
Sure.
Rubel texted me and said, "Oh, this means the Lakers are going to be on even more national games with insert groan here," which is probably true. But like, it's just we're spending a lot of time talking around a second round pick. Like that's
But that
kind of the
and
thing.
that's what bothers me the most. It's like, yes, did it happen? Cool. Will there be a cool moment maybe next year where, like you said, there's a connect between LeBron and his son for a dunk, for an alley oop, for whatever? Yes. Is there now going to be a significant like amount of pressure on Bronny to deliver a little bit? Kind of, because the Lakers are like in win now mode. So like, not that you're hoping he does
Well,
it,
they took him at 55. Come
but
on.
there's still gonna be like there's gonna be expectation to play him.
I don't know. I've liked the memes that have been talking about the dinner time conversations that are going to happen between LeBron and vice versa. If he has a bad game, he's like, they were like, Bronny looks at Savannah, is like, well, if your husband wouldn't have shot 4 or 12 from behind the arc tonight.
Yeah, it's like, how was everybody's day?
No,
Like, how
it's
do you
definitely
even
it's real funny. And it's definitely like that will be wild. Like you're on an NBA jet with your dad traveling to games. Like it's an unprecedented scenario,
it's a cool
obviously,
moment.
but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see what happens with Bronny's career. Like he's a raw prospect, and that's being extremely nice about it.
But apparently D'Angelo Russell, loved the pick so much that he decided to opt in for his last year of his contract, 18.7 million, because he trusts JJ and Bronny that was enough to take him over the top.
Hey, he's got 18.7 million reasons to trust Bronny and JJ next year. I get it from D'Angelo Russell. But
Uh,
let's talk about the drafts. Obviously, this is a weird draft, which we've talked about in the past.
I like that. This is a draft that I haven't cared less about a draft.
I think most people, nobody knew who anybody was, and that was kind of
Yeah.
the problem. Like casuals, there was nobody for casuals to link on to. Like maybe the most recognizable person was Zach Edey, and Zach
Which, by
Edey's a
the
guy
way,
who we're not even projecting to be that great.
no, but by the way, the memes that came out of like Ja Morant and Zach, like Joe,
Incredible.
oh my
God's
god,
reaction posting that rush hour clip is incredible. Like that is
they
so funny.
that and what was it? There was something else that I saw. It just slipped out of my head. Either way, if it comes back, I'll bring it up. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I thought those moments were hilarious. But yeah, that's the point. Is like every name that was listed off, I was like, okay, like what?
Yeah, I mean,
Who's going to be the steal? I don't know. I'm sure there'll be someone that shines through, and
well,
I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people that don't live up to the expectations. But
that is how
cool.
draft goes usually. But yeah, so let's start with the Hawks, obviously, with the number one overall pick taking Zaccharie Risacher, which is a little bit of a reach, I think, for most people, kind of a surprise, but he rose up the board late coming out of France, projects to be a 3-and-D wing. But we'll not just him, the Hawks, we kind of been waiting to see what's the other shoe going to be. We knew they were going to make another move of some sort with either Trae Young or Dejounte Murray. That happened officially with Dejounte Murray going to the Pelicans in exchange for it was 2 picks and Larry Nance Jr. I got to be honest. I think that's a great trade for New Orleans. Like that
I love
feels
it for New
right.
Orleans.
I
Yeah.
love it, man. New Orleans struggled in the clutch last year. Their big question was who takes over late in games. I think I read some stat. I believe ESPN had it, but they were like 0-24 when they entered
Wow.
trailing the fourth quarter down.
Not good.
Dejounte Murray is a guy who late in games has proven that he can create his own shot. He can create a little offense. I think Zion, CJ McCollum, lesser to an extent with Brandon Ingram, but they've all struggled with that a little bit. We've seen that offense kind of collapse. And so, now here with Murray, you make an aggressive move after a pretty disappointing playoff performance. You don't really give up anything either. Like, I know you're giving up some firsts here, but they're protected. Like, there are extras that you had on hand as well. One of them is a Lakers pick. You're giving up Larry Nance Jr., who's a nice player, but it's not like he's going to be the guy that moves you over the top right now. So this is aggressive. I really like this. And with New Orleans, you may not even be done with, depending on what they decide to do with Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning the 2027 pick that is also the least favorable of their own or the Bucks, depending on how it ranks out. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like at least in 2027, you have one of those picks still headed your way, at least as of now. And then yeah, Larry Nance. and a few other players. So yeah, I like it for the Pelicans. I think it's a good move. I assume the Hawks made the pick knowing that this was potentially down the line or with some idea of a direction. ESPN gave him a B grade for the pick, kind of said like, like you were saying, kind of rose up the boards or the rankings late. And could be, it's just one of those things. So we'll see where it goes. But I think the Hawks overall are a team like we were talking about. There's still a lot of questions to see where they land for next year right now.
Well, it's like, what are they gonna do? Like, are you fully blowing up, and are you gonna trade
That's what I
Trae
mean.
Young now?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
are you gonna kind of do this partial rebuild and say, hey, we got Trae, we just brought in Risacher, we have a ton of money available now. We're gonna reset here and see what we got. I don't know. If you're going full teardown, like you have a lot of guys I think you could trade, like the DeAndre Hunters of the world and
Yeah.
such. But it doesn't seem like they're going that way. I don't know. We'll see. Like Trae is the big question now, and it felt like they may move him at points. Like there were teams that were, I think San Antonio should be knocking on the door if Trae Young's available. I think Miami should be inquiring if Trae Young's available. And so I'm interested to see where the Hawks go, but I think moving Murray was the first big domino. I think there is a chance now Trae starts the team with that or starts the season with them. And maybe, depending how they look at the All-Star break, he could be the big name in the market halfway through.
Yeah. And in that case, I'm not saying Trae Young doesn't have a huge market value right now, but at that point where you're middle of the season, maybe a team or two that are like making that push and looks like a point guard would take them over the top, maybe the price does go up a little bit and the Hawks can get more out of it if that's what they want to do. Murray might have been the move so that they keep Trae Young, like that could have also been part of the plan.
No, yeah, well, and it could be because clearly, like that just wasn't working. And I know we
Right.
had only had a season and a half of it, but they were one of the more disappointing teams in the NBA last year. And so I think that's pretty fair to say. I mean, otherwise, top three, I like Alex Sarr for the Wizards. I thought that was a good pick. I like them getting Bub too. They got him kind of late. It feels like the Wizards did something positive. Again, they're one of those teams that need everything. Reed Shepherd for Houston at 3 is great. Just unbelievable shooter. I think he can come in and make an instant impact right away. I'm always higher on Kentucky guys. I think they genuinely do translate to being good pros. And that's another big reason that the other move that I really just loved in the first round was Minnesota going to get Dillingham. Going number 8 overall, San Antonio made the trade because I was surprised when they took him because they had taken Castle from UConn at 4, who's obviously a guard. And then I was like, wow, another guard. It's a little surprising, but Mike Conley is 37 and only getting older. And I just look at Dillingham and I go, that's the punch. Like, that's going to be the replacement. He'll be that explosive guard that can take over. Like, he's just a workhorse. Like, he rose up the board to me late. He just really attacks the rim. I don't know. I like this kid a lot. Like, I like his attitude. I like his efficiency. It felt like to me he's going to be one of the players that slipped in the draft. And like when he was at 8, and we're going to say, how do you get to 8? He should have never gone that low. And I love Minnesota being aggressive and just, it's like, look, we know we made the conference finals last year. We saw an issue as soon as we got there and we immediately tried to address it. We didn't wait.
Yeah. I mean, like they said, to essentially what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, in general with the Timberwolves, they have very little picks because of the Rudy Gobert trade. So being able to make a move and swing and kind of, I guess, make a potential splash that people didn't, maybe the biggest splash of the draft, to give Anthony Edwards some help. I think it's a great move. And like you said, don't get comfortable, keep pushing forward essentially for next year. They're another team that's going to be one of those ones like them and the Knicks are right there, right behind that potential first tier of, Nuggets and Celtics probably. They're in that next tier down.
The ultimate boomer bust pick for me is going to be Kel'el Ware with Miami. And
Okay.
Miami's the one team where I give them where I'm not hating on this because I think Miami's so good at developing players that it's like this would be a guy that because he's so talented. Like he has all the raw intangibles, 7'4" wingspan. He shoots the ball at will, which is great for your center. It just feels like he could complement Bam so well. But it's all raw. Like he's a very raw prospect to say the least. But again, that's where it's like I do trust Miami to get somebody out of that. Like it reminds me almost of Jaquez last year, where it was like nobody really knew who he was when Miami got him. Everyone was kind of wondering who this guy is, and then he ended up being one of the best rookies in the class. Like I could definitely see that type of scenario playing out here.
By the way, the worst, at least, so ESPN rankings I just went through, other than the Nets getting an incomplete because they didn't have picks,
right?
They gave Orlando Magic the worst grade with Tristan da Silva at number 18, saying that poor rebounding and poor rim protection could be a problem if you put him out there with Paulo. Take that for what it is. I feel like Orlando's been doing good in the draft recently, so I tend to err on like they know what they're doing because I feel like a skilled big man that can shoot kind of fits their goal. But again, I get it. And when you have a team that's so defensively minded, adding a little bit of offense and taking a hit on the defensive side, I think is a little bit okay. But they gave him a D.
Wow, a D. Good. Wow, that was harsh. I'd say like you want to give me like a B-, okay, but
they gave a lot of teams like Knicks, OKC got B-, Timberwolves got a B-, Milwaukee only got a C+, Miami got a C.
Who got A's?
Let's see. Hold on, I'll run down the list real quick. So in terms of A's, Hawks got a B, Boston got a B. I still haven't seen an A yet. These are in alphabetical order for anybody that's just Houston got the first A with Reed.
Okay.
Pacers got an A with their 3 picks, which they got the 35th pick, by the way, was via San Antonio.
What'd they give the Lakers with Connect?
B+.
Okay, I would say I like that pick a lot. He's like I kind of wanted. I like the Sixers taking Jared McCain.
Yeah,
like I think that's a good pick for us, but I would have been real happy with Connect too.
Clippers got an A with Cam Christie. Lakers got a B+. Miami got a C. Bucks got a C+. I'm trying to see if there's another A on here. Philly got an A-. Blazers got an A with Donovan.
Wow. Okay. I thought Blazers fans seemed kind of disappointed about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what they said. Haven't draft picks. They're just kind of generic answer. They didn't really give anything like hard hitting on here. Washington Wizards got an A-.
I thought the Wiz had a good draft.
And yeah, that's
like I said that before. I think the Wiz had a really good draft. Getting Sarr, I may have taken Sarr at 1, so getting him at 2 there, I think is.
You got 3 players in the top 25 picks. I mean, for a team that isn't that great. I mean, you might as well stock up on talent, and see what you got.
Bub Carrington is really young too. Like he's another one of those guys that
who was the 18-year-old? Someone was drafted real young. Was
Bub
it Bub?
Carrington? Carrington,
okay.
Yeah. He's he played a season at Pittsburgh, but yeah, he's super, super young. And again, we'll have some more draft talk a little bit later on. Zach Edey is probably the biggest surprise with how high he went. Memphis, I think, needs a traditional center. Like we've shown that that Jaren Jackson really excels with a traditional center next to him. So I think that's kind of where they may have overpaid there. But we'll see. That was kind of an interesting decision for them. But
don't they have roster? Hold on, just because I feel like don't they have who am I thinking? Big center.
They had Steven Adams. They don't anymore.
No, not Steven Adams. He used to play. Oh my God, this is gonna be like playing grid.
Valanciunas?
Valanciunas, yes.
No, Valanciunas in New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay. Memphis and New Orleans are a very similar team in my head.
Steven Adams ended up there too. Once he got hurt, they ended up trading him there. So
that might be why. Okay, he was who I was thinking.
Man, they're both on the Mississippi River, and now they're the same team.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Listen, the Grizzlies had themselves quite. Memphis in general, as a city, had quite a week between the draft. Their boy Justin Timberlake getting arrested for DWI. Yeah, it was crazy.
This week?
I think it was this week. If
Oh
not,
man,
in
I
like
thought
the
that was
past
like
2
2 weeks.
weeks.
I was moving. Justin Timberlake was on all the substances. Apparently, listen. I've seen those eyes before, man. When someone has those eyes, they need to go home.
Well,
But
he was
not in their own car. Yeah, right. Not in their own car.
he
Somebody
was
else.
trying to go home.
There's no
Listen, I'm
Uber.
just saying, like I got in trouble at work because it came out that somebody tipped off the cops that he might be getting in his car and they were worried about it. And I talked about that on air and I was like, listen, snitches get stitches. And he's like, my boss is like, you can't say that. You just like try to justify what he did. I'm like, I get it. He shouldn't have done what he did, but also like, yo,
There's no Ubers in the Hamptons. Like you are out there on a pretty
yeah.
remote end of the island, but also
Dude,
like,
there's
buddy, you're Justin Timberlake. Like arrange transportation,
yeah.
call a cab company, and they'll send somebody out for you. Like
They Ubers, I think people who live in big cities and very populated areas
think
don't
Uber's everywhere.
don't realize that there's like not there's places that don't get Ubers and it's not like it has to be very remote. Like when we're on vacation down in St. Augustine, just because we're like 20 minutes from St. Augustine, there's no Ubers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Oh yeah.
it's not like that's not like just a thing in most places. So
Yeah.
just want to point that out there.
No,
I've been stranded after weddings before thinking I'm like, oh, yeah, there'd be an Uber. And then there's not. And I'm like, all right, well, now what do we do?
yeah. No, I mean it definitely happens. A little housekeeping notes. We will not be playing Immaculate Grid on this episode. I should have
Yeah.
mentioned that. We just are on a little more of a time crunch this week with life. So maybe we'll play Immaculate Grid during the week and we'll surprise you guys with one because we do like it. We are on a hot streak. I did get 8 of 9 yesterday with me when it was me alone. I forget. I think it was like
Yo,
unless it was Utah.
I gotta put you on to something though, because you like Immaculate Grid, and I know everybody listening knows we do Immaculate Grid, so I assume you like it too.
I do.
Yeah. LinkedIn is the spot for games, dude.
Wait.
LinkedIn, dude. LinkedIn has games. It's like Facebook back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Where you got like
I'm playing
Farmville?
Farmville on LinkedIn now.
No, but it's like Sudoku type games where like you have to put a crown. So you get a
What?
grid and you have to put a crown, but it can't be on the same like in these same design things.
I believe you, but why is LinkedIn putting games on
No
LinkedIn?
idea.
Like,
No idea, but I wasted like 2 hours at the office yesterday playing these stupid LinkedIn games.
allegedly, Justin. Allegedly, you wasted 2 hours at the office yesterday. playing LinkedIn
Allegedly.
games.
Dude, LinkedIn is the spot for games. LinkedIn is like the new Facebook. People aren't even out here trying to find jobs out there.
Why though?
I don't
Why
know.
is LinkedIn
I don't know.
Facebook now?
I don't know, dude, but people are out here just like posting their recipe videos on LinkedIn and like it's not you're not trying to get a job on LinkedIn anymore. Like you're trying to play Farmville
Then
now.
what's it for? The whole point was to get jobs.
It's like the old people or the young people that really enjoyed Facebook but are too old for Facebook or know Facebook's dying. They moved to LinkedIn and that's where everybody's at. Bro, I'm telling you, I'm gonna send you these games on LinkedIn. You're gonna freaking love them too, because it's like crossword puzzles, and then you got to guess the topic with like hints as you go.
I believe you. I just am like I'm baffled that LinkedIn has games on it now. That is just all right. Anyway, who's balling, who's falling? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like start with the good before the bad. And so balling for me this week is Kenny Atkinson, who is the new head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Of course, he's been an assistant Golden State the last few years. He had a head coaching tenure in Brooklyn. I think it's a great hire for Cleveland. Like, look, I remember when Kenny Atkinson got fired, and it's quietly been like 3 or 4 years ago now, but with Brooklyn, I was surprised. Like he had gotten them to overachieve the year before. Like they had made the playoffs. They were doing well with Durant at the beginning of the season when he got let go. And I guess I'm just kind of surprised it took him this long to get. And granted, he was on the market last year and chose to go back to Golden State. But it's like, I don't know. I think Kenny Atkinson's a good coach. Like I know there's a lot of like retread talk with it, but I think he's one of these guys that I'm surprised it took this long to find another gig. Obviously, a pretty huge season in Cleveland coming up decision wise. what is Donovan Mitchell going to do? Are you moving on from Darius Garland? Do you break the Evan Mobley, Jared Allen duo up? Like, I think there's a lot of fair questions around that roster, given how the playoffs have went the last few years.
Yep.
But I don't know. Like, I feel pretty good about them bringing in Kenny Atkinson. Like, I think he's a big upgrade from JB Bickerstaff from last year, and I'm excited to see what he does with this roster.
Well, and JB, like, to his credit, like, in 2 seasons had 99 wins. Like, the Cleveland was playing well. Yes, they flamed out and there were disappointing moments. But I think it all comes down to, at the end of the day, if you can get Donovan to re-sign, that's the main goal right now, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that, I think, would be the next piece where things start falling after that. But again, bringing in Atkinson, a guy with some experience, I think will definitely help that roster out. But all right, who is Ballin for you?
My Ballin is the lawsuit between the Knicks and Raptors. Remember that? It isn't done. It's still going. It's happening. A judge in New York on Friday ruled that Adam Silver has to resolve the dispute now, which gets a little deep. The Knicks, who are trying to get $10 million damages in the lawsuit, pushed back originally at the Raptors, requesting Silver to get involved, saying that he shouldn't because he has a relationship with the governor for the Raptors, who is a chairman on the NBA board. So the district judge said that doesn't bother them, and Silver has to figure it out. I guess if he can't, he has to notify the judge in the next 7 days of that decision, of whatever Silver decides. And then I guess if they don't go from there, they'll have until the 13th of December to provide an update on how things are going. So I guess this is just going to be around for a while.
No, look at you. You want to go to law school? That was pretty good, Just.
Listen,
like,
man,
all right.
I host Legal Live every week. I talk to lawyers.
No, listen, you better tell them. Tell them 12-1. Tune in.
12-1. Tune in, man. We talked about medical malpractice and who can and cannot sue in that situation.
Yeah, listen, you gotta establish a duty. You gotta find if there's breach. Listen,
dude, what's wild to me, we're getting off topic, but a medical malpractice, you have 2 years to sue the doctor when you have first inclination of a situation. So like, it could be 6 years after whatever happened, but that's the moment that you're like, wait, something's up.
Yep.
That you have 2 years from that date, which is like so weird to me. And then the
law is far from perfect, as you will find now.
Well, but then there's also situations where, like, I don't know, if there's a wrongful death claim, like the spouse and a minor child are the only 2 people that can bring it to court. But a minor child could also be 24 years old. So it's like, wait, what? Sorry. That's my legal talk for the day.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. There's a lot going on in the legal world, as always, right now. We could do many a podcast about that. But you were right. That lawsuit is going nowhere. One thing about litigation in the United States is that it takes a long, long time. A long, long, long time. And so, yeah, we'll see what plays out. But I enjoy the update. Thank you. Real quick, just because this popped up on my feed, about the Dejounte Murray trade, the New Orleans Times-Picayune, which is still my favorite newspaper name of all time. It's incredible. Do you want to know what their headline was for the Dejounte Murray trade?
It's probably a joke off his name, right?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Shoot.
From a hawk to a pelican. Put it together. Hawk to a pelican.
Ah, boo. There's a so I joked with my buddy, and it's going around that there is a Hawk Tua parlay where you pick the Hawks to go to the finals and Tua to win MVP, and it's like it's like plus like 200,000. So like
everybody's about to be millionaires if that hits. Like,
that would be wild. But yeah, either way, so that's just. But yeah, that's that might be worse than making a joke off his name in general. But
no, I'm not gonna lie. I appreciated that a little bit. I'm glad that got through the editor's desk. Fallen for me this week is Andrew Wiggins, who is apparently not playing for Team Canada in the Olympics because the Warriors won't let him.
Yeah. Well,
And
allegedly.
We'll see. It's always weird because like Wiggins has a weird relationship with Team Canada. And Team Canada is kind of loaded. Like that's the thing is this is a roster full of NBA players. Like SGA is on this roster, Jamal Murray, Kelly Olynyk, Lou Dort, RJ Barrett, Nikhil Alexander Walker, Zach Edey, we just talked about, is playing for the roster this year. Like this is not a joke of a roster. Like this is a pretty potent Canadian roster. And but it is like Wiggins has been one of the OG Canadian ballers, and he almost never plays for this squad. So I don't know, man. There's like it feels like every time we talk about Andrew Wiggins since he's won the title with that Warriors team, it's just been something bizarre going on. Like whether family related, whether he's missing time again, whether the Warriors want to trade him or they don't, whether he's playing for Team Canada, what's not going on. Like I feel like the Windy meme. It's like, what's going on with Andrew Wiggins right now?
What's happening? Yeah, I he was one of the 20 players that did get an invite to camp. The Warriors came out saying that they didn't tell him no, that it was a mutual decision between the Warriors and Wiggins.
What, did Canada say team no, and then he's trying to blame the Warriors? Like, is that what's going on here?
I don't know. It just sounds it was weird. So like the Warriors came out and said it was a mutual decision, which makes me feel like that the fact that you had to say it was a mutual decision means it might not have been. It might have been one of those things where it's like, we would love it if you didn't play. And that would be awesome. And then he's like, you know what? I won't play. And it's like, cool. We agreed on a decision together. But either way, my Fallin is, we kind of alluded to it, is going to go back and take a shot at Ben Simmons again because the NBA 2K rating for 2025 came out.
Mm-hmm.
And his rating is a 66. Which is down from an 87 back from 2K 2019 to 2K 21.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I feel you're better at harping on Ben than I can't even harp on Ben anymore like that. Like,
I know.
What is there left to say? Like, Ben Simmons is basically a non-NBA player at this point. Like, it's remarkably shocking how quickly it all went bad.
Yeah.
Like, it went so much worse than what I even thought the worst case scenario was. Like, I kind of laughed when there were always people would be like, oh yeah, Ben Simmons can't shoot, he'd be out of the league. I was like, all right, like go touch grass, go outside. Like it's weird, dude. And maybe the injuries are worse than we've said, but it's just, bring it back to the Hawks, who have been one of the teams we talked about more on this episode. Like, I've never seen a play just so thoroughly change the course of one player's career like that. Like, he just straight, ever since that pass the tie ball when he didn't dunk, it's just only gone downhill. And I think it started before that, but yeah, either way, it went downhill real quick. But all right.
So before we get out, I just have one comment.
What's that?
I'm going to add it to my Fallin. Because we would have absolutely nailed this grid, mainly because Elfrid Payton worked.
Oh, Elfrid, wait a minute, hang on. I'm looking at this grid right now. You know what? We got 3 or 4 minutes. Let's do it. Let's go into speed thing. I lied to you. We're going to do Immaculate Grid on this episode.
Oh boy. Okay.
We're going to speed run it. I'm going to go right across. So hang on real quick. Our columns from our left to right and again, you can always watch these on YouTube. You have the Portland Trail Blazers. You have 5 assists per game per season, and you have 10,000 career rebounds. This is the only time I've been happy with heavy statistical categories. Our rows this week are the Wizards, are the Suns, and our Rookie of the Year. Justin already got Suns and Elfrid Payton for 5 assists per game, which is awesome. But all right, we're going to speed run this. So I'm going to go 1, then you go 1. Okay. So,
oh boy. All right.
Or at least, okay. Maybe I'll go 2 if worst comes to worst. Let's do Suns.
I know this one.
Okay. Go.
Gary Payton.
The second?
The second. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He started on the Wizards. That is a good one. He'll be real low.
Well, Perry does not. Gary.
Yeah.
Payton. Oh.
Make sure it's a second.
Yeah, hold on. There we go. Yeah. Gary Payton 2.
Nice. 2%. Wow.
All right.
Okay. Suns and Blazers. Did Thad Young ever play for the Blazers?
I'm pretty sure he did. Yes. No. Oh, that was Evan Turner. No. I'm thinking Evan Turner. Yeah. All right. I mean, Dame's definitely Rookie of the Year, right?
Dame won Rookie of the Year. So yeah, do Dame there.
Dame. Lillard back in that corner. Westbrook works for 5 assists.
Westbrook
Wizards.
and Wall both work there. I
Who do
think
you
Beal
think's
works
better?
there
Oh,
too.
Beal might work there. Beal.
Yeah. Do you know what? Do Russ or Beal there because John Wall wins Rookie of the Year for the Wizards.
Okay, Russ. Yeah, okay. So Wall here.
I'm pretty sure he won Rookie of the Year for the Wizards. Like I'm almost positive John Wall.
Well, it would help if I hold on. Oh, Asian Wall. No,
that's what happens when you speed run. You
know
miss.
what we should have done?
Who?
Blake Griffin works for this.
For the Wizards?
Didn't he play? No. Oh, you know what I did? I did it in the wrong spot, right?
Oh, no, that was the right one. I thought he won Rookie of the Year.
No. This is 5 assists Rookie of the Year.
No, I know, but I still thought.
Oh, right.
No, I still thought John Wall would have worked there.
I thought we were under the filter of Wizards still. So that's my bad.
All right. Well, no, that's fine. We'll come back. Look, the 10K career rebounds. Let's do a few quick ones. Barkley works for the Suns.
Okay. You want to do that?
Barkley? Yeah, do Charles Barkley. Yeah, we're going to go chalky this week.
Okay. Well,
Charles
we already got Alfred and Gary that are like 2%.
Yeah, not chalky.
Dames for sure. Yeah.
10K career rebounds for the Wizards. I think Wes Unseld works there, or maybe Chris Webber does.
For over here for 10K?
Yeah, okay. I don't know about Unseld. Webber might go.
Howard, Dwight. Didn't Dwight go there?
Dwight works. Yeah, actually do Dwight. That's a good one.
Dwight was there. Yeah.
Dwight definitely was there. Yeah, good call. Okay, Rookie of the Year and 10K rebounds. Tim Duncan won Rookie of the Year. That works.
Tim Duncan. Yes. 5 assists. Damn, I'm so upset I missed that. We're gonna have one blank.
No, we did too. I mean, we're gonna have an 8 and 9. Whatever. We speed ran it. It is what it is. 5 assists per game with the Wizards. I mean, we got that. Like it's more.
A Suns Connect. Derek Jones Jr.
Wow. Okay.
Remember?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Wow, that's crazy because Tim had the piece of that sign court from Derek Jones Jr. when he was on the Suns. How does he spell
it?
DERICK.
2 R's or 1?
I think 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's a good one. Yeah, really good guess,
baby.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I mean, we'll leave the one blank we got wrong. So if we're up top, can we just go Russ or Beal?
Let's go Russ. I'm more confident in Russ than Beal. I mean, I'm sure both are fine, but
that's fine. Russ averaged a triple season or triple double season. When he was
there it is. Damn.
Right. So
47 options.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my bad.
Yeah, I just
4 rookie
I'll take the blame for that one. I thought John Wall won Rookie of the Year. I really thought he won Rookie of the Year that year. There's a lot of other options. Yeah, I mean, basically name a successful point guard. The sleeper there would have been Tyreke Evans because Tyreke Evans was never really good after his Rookie of the Year. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah. But, actually, I bet Michael Carter Williams would have worked there too.
He would have. Yeah, he would have. Damn. All right. Most popular answers: Rasheed Wallace for Blazers, Wizards, John Wall for 5 assists per game per season for the Wiz, Wes Unseld for Wiz 10K rebounds, Barkley for Suns 10K rebounds, DeAndre Ayton for Suns and Blazers. We're idiots. We didn't even mention that at all. That literally just happened. Steve Nash for Suns 5 assists per game per season, Dame for Blazers Rookie of the Year, LeBron for 5 assists per game Rookie of the Year, and Shaq for 10K rebounds Rookie of the Year.
That's a good one.
Let's go through ours real quick.
So
we got Gary Payton II for Blazers and Wizards, Russell Westbrook for Wizards 5 a game per season, Dwight Howard for Wiz 10K career rebounds, Derek Jones Jr. for Suns and Trailblazers, Elfrid Payton for Suns 5 assists per game, Charles Barkley, Suns 10K career rebounds. We got Tim Duncan for 10,000 career rebounds and Rookie of the Year, Damian Lillard for Rookie of the Year for the Blazers. We missed 5 assists per game per season for Rookie of the Year because John Wall was not Rookie of the Year. That might have been the Blake year, actually, now that I think about it. That might have been the Blake year. Damn. Oh, well. What are you going to do? Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. We appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If not, we are everywhere you can find your podcasts.
We're on YouTube as well. You can watch a video version of the podcast and subscribe so you get notifications when new episodes are coming out.